life-altering surgeries, relentless setbacks. This is a powerful story of resilience, transformation, and finding new purpose in the aftermath of a traumatic brain injury. Welcome to Mind Matters, Navigating Head Injuries and Concussions. This episode, we rejoin Michael Mashkevich and explore a true story of navigating the complex road to recovery from traumatic brain injury, the pivotal medical moments, the physical and emotional challenges faced, and the profound shifts in identity and a career that emerged. We'll hear about the power of perseverance, the healing role of meditation and lifestyle changes, and how our relationships and advocacy can fuel hope and give life renewed meaning. Whether you're a survivor, a caregiver, or an advocate, this episode offers insight into living well beyond TBI and finding purpose through adversity. Michael, it's great to have you back on the show with us.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yes, we are too. So let's dive back in. So you painted a nice picture for us. Pretty horrendous accident, injuries from head to toe, a severe traumatic brain injury, several broken bones, broken pelvis. I mean, the list goes on. So let's start to dig into more of the recovery process now. So kind of the road forward. How did your recovery progress? Were there any pivotal moments or milestones that stand out for you?
When I was in Massachusetts, I couldn't live on my own, and my parents were in Los Angeles. I was lucky that my parents and my stepbrother was in Massachusetts, still in Massachusetts. He was able to help me kind of move out of my old place, and because I couldn't live on my own, my parents took me to live with them in Los Angeles. Moving to Los Angeles after living on my own, working on my own, it was completely different. Like, who wants to be a 25-year-old male going to live back with his parents? Yeah. So that was quite a shift in my perspective, but I'm so grateful that they were able to take me in, that they were able to help me recover, because without them, I don't know how I would be back to where I am today.
Yeah. So when you moved out to Los Angeles, how far through the injury were you? I assume you were off the ventilator, you're breathing on your own. Were you walking on your own? Were you communicating on your own? Any of that?
I had to be wheelchaired from the airplane. Off the airplane. Well, one thing that is nice about like being in a wheelchair is like you're the first one off the plane. So that's a nice thing. It's like a premium first class, but you can't walk.
It's a trade-off. I like that though. If you're going to have some, you might as well have some benefit from this. So I do like that. So you moved from Boston to LA. Yes, a young man having to move back in with his parents does present some challenges. I could attest to that surely. And then the culture shift, I'm sure, was quite different from Boston to LA. What were the biggest challenges that you faced during your recovery? You know, we're talking physical, mental, emotional, all of that.
It was a different mindset, because I think LA compared to Boston is more like you got to get stuff done. Everything has to be like, if you say, I'm going to be there at 3:15, you got to be there at 3:15 or 3:10. In LA, I feel like, if you're there at 3:30, it's okay. My friends were like just a little bit different. They were like more laid back, and I showed up, at 3:15 when I said 3:15, but nobody is there. I'm like, what is this? So it was just a mental shift. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that California lifestyle, as they say. A little bit of a shift there too, but kudos to you for being on time. So I know you mentioned last episode, and again, audience, if you weren't able to catch the first episode, I highly advise you to go back and listen to that great interview with Michael. So you try to get back into tennis. Can you kind of recap what that was like?
I was able to kind of get back on my feet, and amazingly, my employer, they didn't, like, you're supposed to be only put on medical leave for I think 3 months, and then 6 months if they approve it. But they were able to keep extending it, maybe because I was a decent employee when I worked there. Mm-hmm. So luckily they also let me work from home after the whole thing happened. So I was like, it's amazing. And so I moved to my own place in LA, and I moved to a place where there's a park right next to my apartment. And in that park, I could play tennis. So I was like, I'll get back to playing tennis, and this will be just like old Michael. This will be wonderful. So I tried to get back in it, and I would be playing like okay for like a minute, and then the pain would start to come into my arm, and then I just would not be able to play. And it's like every time I went to play, like then I would hurt for like the next like 3, 4, 5 days. And slowly I learned like I can't keep doing this. I need to change who I used to be, because who I used to be is no longer there. So I found new sports. I started playing volleyball. I started
Nice.
playing a pickleball, and pickleball is very similar to tennis, but if I use like a regular weight paddle, the pain would again come. So I found like if I have a paddle that's 7.8 ounces or less, then it's okay. So then that way I kind of like found ways to kind of still enjoy sports and still be happy and still find the friendships that I got from sports, which was made so much easier to be me.
Yes,
Grateful
yeah.
for that.
Absolutely, yeah. Trying to regain some of the old magic, as it were. So many of our TBI survivors we have on the show, a big part of their story is kind of discovering that new you, and you're doing that here. It sounds like you're not abandoning the old you. You're just finding ways to adapt. And so I think that's key for our listeners to understand: is not all hope is lost. You may have to change things, but you're still there. I think that's well said. So that kind of is a nice segue into kind of the rehabilitation part of things. Surely you went through intensive physical rehab, perhaps some mental, emotional counseling, things like chiropractic care. Did any of those play a role in your rehabilitation?
Yeah, I remember my stepmom, she used to take me to these appointments that I used to have. It was behavioral therapy and some other therapy, and it was just nice to kind of have the support to be able to do what I needed to do. And my arm really wasn't functioning that well at one point, I remember. So being able to do exercises where I would have to like grip stuff, release stuff, grip stuff, release stuff, it just made life so much more possible than what it was before. So I'm grateful for having the care that I was able, and because my dad worked for Kaiser Permanente, it also kind of made it easier to get the appointments, to kind of go like figure out where the appointments were. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, I think that's great. For our audience, please, in the comments, talk about what sorts of therapies or strategies that really helped kind of boost your recovery if you or a loved one of yours has been recovering from a serious injury such as Michael's. Michael, what other strategies or therapies or maybe even support systems were really effective for you? Or were there any that just didn't help? In your estimation? I know you touched on meditation in our first episode, so maybe you could mention that again and anything else you found helpful.
Yeah, so meditation, that was amazing because it reminded me that, I have to be, I need to be grateful for what I do have. Because a lot of times it was so easy to kind of think about the problems I was facing with that I still couldn't pee on my own because I had to wait the like six or maybe 7 months after my original accident to get my urethra fixed, and then I couldn't walk on my own. I had like the little kind of wheelchair thing that where I put my kind of leg on it and I kind of get wheeled around. What is that called?
The little scooter, the little knee
scooter, yeah.
Yeah. And
it's frustrating because when you're on your scooter or when you can't walk, it's so problematic. But meditation, like when I'm kind of suffering, like I can't do any of this stuff, being able to kind of lay down and kind of think about what I have to be grateful for, or like how blessed I am that I still can't actually like move my left leg, or how I can like move my arms, I could breathe, that it's okay. And yes, there are still problems, but if I can think about the positive, then it makes it so much easier. And I discovered positive psychology and kind of looked into it more. It's like, wow, this is going to make my life so much more enjoyable just by being aware of the positive side of life.
Yeah, I agree. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not saying to ignore the negative or pretend it's not there. It's this, you're choosing to focus more on what's going right, the positives, the uplifting that's going on around you. Does that sum it up okay?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think our minds, the way it's programmed is we always look for the negative, because that's how I think we survived when we were cavemen, to make sure we don't get eaten. But we forget about looking at the positive, what we have to be thankful for.
Yeah, we're surrounded by so much negativity these days. I think that's a great reminder to us, to our audience, that that positive mindset is powerful. Did you implement any other changes? I know we've had some integrative neurologists on the show that have talked a lot about dietary changes. Did you find yourself having to look at your diet as far as your recovery goes?
Yes, absolutely. I really looked into it in depth, and more so because my inflammation was really bad. And I still have inflammation in my right arm because I have metal that I can't ever get taken out of my right arm. And I started first going into a more vegetarian-based diet. So I was more of a vegetarian for a little bit. And then I went back to meat. And then again, I went back to being vegetarian. And then over the past 2 or 3 months, I've been raw vegan. And that has been a game changer. When the body has more time to just not have to digest food, it can just kind of be itself, then I start feeling better. I'm not dealing with the inflammation that I was dealing with. And it's been kind of amazing to kind of have this kind of like a diet where I feel better every day instead of being kind of suffering with inflammation and pain and dealing with the issues that I've been feeling.
That is such a fascinating aspect of recovery, especially brain injury recovery, is the nutrition aspect of it. So many people don't associate nutritional approaches to brain injury healing. So I appreciate you mentioning that. Very, very impactful for sure. Let's take a little turn. Let's talk about your career. I know you were working at the time. How did your injury and then your subsequent recovery impact your career or truly your sense of purpose?
I was so lucky that my employer kept me on medical leave and then they let me start working from home. That was nice and fine, nice and happy because I was doing exactly what I used to do before my accident, where it was always on the computer, kind of building little different changes on websites. But I was the coder, and even though I liked that, it didn't give me like a sense of fulfillment. And my brain injury caused me to be a little bit more like forgetful. It's improved over time, but it just wasn't where I wanted to be. I started feeling like there's got to be more to what happened to me. Like there was a reason why I was in this car accident. And I started recently, probably in the last 6 months or so, looking at being more of a life coach. And I first was looking at, instead of a life coach, like just kind of a therapy, like what is therapy? And then I understood that to be a therapist, I can't really do that because I have to go back and go to school extensively and get my master's degree, maybe a PhD. Therapy is different too because you are looking at somebody's past, like what they have gone through. I don't know how to deal with somebody's depression or developmental trauma, even though it's good to know about that. I'm not like educated to know that well about it, and I don't have the qualifications. But as a life coach, it's a lot more practical for me to learn to be a life coach because it instead of looking at the past, life coach looks at the future. Based on what happened to me in my accident, I was able to kind of get out of the junk that I was in. And I think a life coach can help somebody make plans for the future. And as a life coach, as I've been studying to be now, even though I'm not certified, I am certified like for taking like a few courses, but I'm not officially certified with the official, I forget the.
That would be oh my gosh, the National Association of Life Coach. I can't remember. There's a lot of associations, but there's a professional association or organization that does that accreditation or licensure, I'm sure. Is that right? Yeah. I'll look it up and I'll tell you right away. So it sounds like that really, that your accident, your injuries, really shifted your identity as a result. You went from, what was your career before this?
I was a web developer. So it was all IT stuff. Yeah.
Okay. And now you've kind of left that behind, huh? And you're diving headlong into life coaching. Did you yourself have a life coach through any of your recovery?
I wish I did. No. And the organization that certifies life coaches is the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, I think.
Okay. So you're pursuing accreditation or licensure through that organization so you can become a life coach in earnest then, huh?
Yeah, I think the first one I have to get is an ACC, and then it goes to PCC, like a professional something coach, and then the last one is the MCC, which is like a master coach thing. But the ACC is the basic one, and they make it more intense, where like not only are you learning what it is in theory, you also have to have a mentor, you have to have coaching hours, you have to have like a certain amount of hours, and then you take a big test for it. So it makes it a lot more legitimate than just taking a course on Udemy, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Standardization is key. That's incredible, Michael. Kudos to you. Congrats. We're rooting for you over here at Mind Matters for sure. Can't wait to hear about that. Please let us know when you've gotten to that next level. So you've taken this huge turn in your professional life for the better. You know, kind of that phoenix rising from the ashes, right? I love that story. So I think that's you here. What impact did your injury and your recovery have on relationships or your social life?
So having moved to California from Boston, it kind of broke away all the friendships I had, and my tennis friends are all basically gone. They're all on the East Coast. But because of finding groups to kind of do stuff with on Meetup, have you heard of meetup.com or the Facebook groups? I was able to find first volleyball to play with. Like I met like meetup groups, and they would say like, oh, we're meeting on Saturday and 10 o'clock, be there. So you would be able to see like how many people are showing up. You can meet with people outside of that to practice. And that kind of allowed me to build kind of like a connection with people that are interested in the same thing. And it just made life so much easier to, again, kind of build the camaraderie that I had on the East Coast with tennis. It made it so much more nice. Yeah.
Yeah. That community aspect of healing is so key. Again, so many of our brain injury survivors discuss that as part of their own journey. Were you able to connect with any other survivors such as yourselves or brain injury advocacy groups? And if so, did that kind of shape your journey? Yeah,
my family, my parents, they had a family friend, and their son also had a traumatic brain injury, and his recovery was a little bit different. And it just made me realize that we all have our own kind of fights that we have to go through. And the key is figuring out how to survive in your own skin. If that makes sense.
It does. And I would ask our audience as well, please, again, leave it in the comments, but have you had any experiences with any advocacy groups that have helped propel your recovery? Or if you're a loved one of somebody recovering from a brain injury, have you seen them connect with other advocacy groups or other survivors, and that's really been impactful for them? Please share that with our community here. Michael, what do you wish more people understood about living with a brain injury or a massive concussion, if you will?
That it's not one size fits all. Everybody is different. It's hard to, or you can't really kind of generalize how it's going to be or what it's like. It's not as easy as some people make it seem, and it's not as hard as some people make it seem of that, because everybody is different. We have to kind of fight for ourselves, and you are your own best doctor. Because even doctors, they tell you like, you should try to do that. I was like, well, maybe I'm not capable of doing that. And you have to be able to accept what you can do, because you are your own best friend in a way.
You're your most powerful advocates, your most powerful voice. Agree. You got to find that voice sometimes, though. Not everybody comes into that with that ability, so that's important to note. Michael, we talk often here on the show, especially to our survivors, brain injury survivors, about living well. Before, after, right? You've got Michael, where you were before, the IT professional, and you've got the Michael you are now. What does living well mean to you now compared to before the injury?
Now, one thing I didn't mention about my relationship is I met my current wife in California, and we traveled a lot when we were dating, and we both had a passion for kind of doing things outside of the norm. We ended up having a child as well, and having a child has been amazing because she teaches me so much about life. Whenever I'm stressed, being with her, it puts me back into the moment instead of like thinking about the future or the past. a child she is so innocent but so real at the same time, because she is who she is, and without any apologies. She just is what she is. And that has been an amazing kind of journey out of this too, because I need to realize that I'm here for her as well. I need to show her the example of the best version you can be. So that's been an amazing part of my journey with having a child and my wife.
That is amazing. I think you're bringing us right where I'd hope we'd land as we come up against time, and that's that message of hope. And so that's where I want to kind of ask you, Michael, is there any advice you'd give to somebody who's newly injured, or any message of hope for our listeners? You know, whether you're a survivor, you're an advocate for somebody with a brain injury, maybe you're a provider or an attorney. Michael, is there anything you would want to say, you would want those people to take away from this conversation?
I would say you are your own best doctor, and you need to remember that you are your best advocate. No matter what doctor kind of tells you, you know your body the best. You can kind of get out of anything if you put your mind to it, because the mind is stronger than the body in a sense. So keep fighting and keep being strong, because only you can get out of this.
Yeah, the mind is quite strong, and I like what you said earlier about choosing to see the good, right? Even those small moments. It's positivity is powerful. So, Michael, really appreciate you. Friends, audience, that is going to do it for us today here on Mind Matters. A huge thank you to our guest, Michael Mashkevich, for sharing the rest of his transformational journey with us. Again, if you didn't catch our first episode with Michael, be sure to go back and watch that. His story continues to remind us of the power of resilience and the hope, really, that fuels recovery. Thank you for joining us today. If you've got your own story of fighting through adversity, please share that in the comments below. Your insights are invaluable to our community and can really help shape future content. And if you would, please subscribe to our channel, share today's episode with somebody you love, and give us a like. Your support helps us to bring more stories like this to light. And as always, remember, if you're in pain, call Shane at 980-999-9999. We'll see you next time.
In pain, so I call Shane. 980-999-9999. In pain, call Shane.